Should I start? Hello?
Just a minute.
Hello.
Uh, Good
Yes.
afternoon, everyone. This side is Sanjay Suman from ICMI Social Auditors Organization. So, welcome to our program, today's program, CSR with a focus on sustainability. So, today's our faculty speaker is Dr. Manjushri Banerjee. She has already joined. She is author and sustainability expert. So, I am welcoming to Dr. Manjushri Banerjee, ma'am, for this program. Welcome, ma'am, and good afternoon.
Uh, Thank you. Thank you for introducing. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, whatever.
Okay. Good evening to all of you. First, I would like to introduce myself, especially my association with CSR. I possess about 20 years of experience in social research, and I worked with the Social Transformation Division of TERI, the Energy and Resources Institute, for about 10 years. This division worked on CSR related issues. I myself was involved in developing CSR policies as well as implementation and assessment of few CSR initiatives. I also conducted independent evaluation of a few CSR reports. So let's begin with our presentation. In this presentation, we will use the available literature and work experiences as well. We will go through some basic concepts and case studies and then through some guidelines. Guidelines are generally boring, but we need to cover them, and then we will try to find or understand the relevance in context of social auditors. The total time of this session is about 1 hour 15 minutes, and we will try to keep this presentation for about 55 minutes, and then we can have a discussion. Please feel free to interrupt if there is any clarification required. Like, please feel free to interrupt in between. We start with some basics. Now, what is corporate social responsibility? If we go through literature, there are different ways of narrating CSR. There are more than 40 definitions of CSR. During the years 2010 to 2014, I was engaged in developing one employment and infrastructure development plan for special economic zone. So during that time, I got the opportunity to interact with a few corporates about their CSR plans and policies. During that time, we observed that there were variations in how organizations perceived CSR. So there are variation in definitions, and there are variations in perceiving of CSR. So for this presentation, we picked up one definition, which is by UNIDO, United Nations Industrial Development Organization. So what this definition says, it says CSR is a management concept. In simple terms, companies integrate social and environmental concerns in two things. One is in their day-to-day business operations, and another is in their interaction with stakeholders. Stakeholders here are shareholders, suppliers, buyers, workers, employees, and owners. There can be more stakeholders as well. Now, for any business to survive, it has to be profitable. Along with the social and environmental aspects, the economic aspect has to come with equal weightage. So CSR involves three aspects or imperatives. One is social, economic, and environmental. This is called a triple bottom line approach. And this approach is used everywhere in CSR. such as in developing CSR policy, developing implementation framework, and designing projects. And any legal business is to help society, environment, and economy, and not to harm them. Help and not harm. And this is the core of CSR. Again, CSR is a way through which a company achieves a balance between all the three imperatives: economic, social, and environment, and at the same time addresses the expectations of shareholders and stakeholders. Now, nowadays we hear about ESG, environment, social and governance. We hear about sustainability. We talk about CSR. And many times ESG, CSR, and sustainability are interchangeably used. However, there is a thin line, or there is a line. And in this slide, we will try to understand the difference between ESG, CSR, and sustainability. Now, ESG is a quantifiable assessment of sustainability and business practices, and it is based on performance indexes. There are scores associated with the indicators. Now, investors use these scores to make informed choices. For example, if a investor is looking for a buyer which follows ethical practices, which is environmentally sustainable, economically sustainable, socially credible, the investor may look at the ESG scores. And it is generally externally regulated, and external organization, a qualified external organization provides these scores, and ESG directly adds value to the business. Now, in case of CSR, like CSR is a general framework for corporate behavior. It varies in terms of its implementation. One can say, one can give scores to CSR activities, but it is generally qualitative or narrative in nature. There are some guidelines such as ISO guidelines or standards, but there are only standards or guidelines. Generally, an organization or a company defines its own CSR policies. A good CSR helps companies maintain a positive brand image, and it also boosts stakeholders' morale. So companies may highlight their CSR achievement efforts in annual reporting, and otherwise also they may highlight. For example, like in Indigo flight, like last month when I was traveling, there is one Indigo Reach magazine which is placed between one magazine in between three seats. So there I was going through the magazine, and I saw that the magazine highlighted their CSR activity, and they mentioned about the heritage walks conducted in some major cities under their CSR initiative. And about sustainability. Sustainability is a much broader term. It ensures that the business is business keeps going with the balance of social, economic, and environmental imperatives in present as well as in future. It is qualitative and quantitative, and sustainability involves many divisions. The production division, the HR, ESG, and CSR are also part of sustainability. The common thread between ESG, CSR, and sustainability is the three imperatives: social, economic, and environmental concerns. Now, in short terms, in a short way to say the difference, ESG is about performance, CSR is a self-defined design framework, and sustainability is about the safe future of the business. Hope I'm going in a proper pace and I'm not fast or slow. Hello?
It's fine, ma'am.
Okay, thanks. Now we will try to understand the responsibilities of CSR. For understanding this, we will look at history a bit. In 1953, Howard Bobbin, he published a book titled Social Responsibilities of Businessman. In this book, uh, means this book was based on the belief of the author that there are several hundred large businesses operating in United States, and these businesses had lots of power and the ability to influence decision making, and the actions of these businesses are able to influence the lives of many citizens in the country. And in this book he asks the question that what are the responsibilities of a businessman, and this book was the landmark of modern CSR, uh, like we can say landmark of modern CSR. And after that, in 1991, Carroll, he constructed one CSR pyramid. And in this pyramid, he made four divisions. And these divisions were economic responsibilities, legal, ethical, and philanthropic. Here, Carroll gave some relative weightages to all the four responsibilities, and he made or he gave these weightages after surveying about 250 business people. Then he gave maximum weightage and made the base of the pyramid as economic responsibilities. It is about 3.5. The only way of sustaining a business is by being profitable. Being profitable incentivizes the stakeholders, employees, workers, and shareholders. The business is expected to produce and sell products and services required by the society, and society buys them. This is a very basic concept of any business. The economic responsibility is the baseline requirement. In today's global business, economic performance and sustainability are the urgent topics. Then he gave almost equal weightage to legal and ethical responsibilities. It was about 2.5 to both, means to legal and 2.5 to ethical responsibilities. Now, businesses are expected or are required to comply with the laws and regulations of the state and the country. And there is a thin line between legal and ethical responsibilities. For legal aspect, there are codified standards and laws. But for ethical standards, they are defined by general norms. So companies generally define their own ethical standards. For example, like a few years back, I came across one organization which followed no gifts policy. The employees, they were not taking any gifts from any stakeholders or shareholders, and the employees followed this very diligently. Then comes philanthropic responsibilities, and the weightage to this responsibility was the lowest, about 1.5. Now, what is philanthropic responsibility? It is like the business grows big, and then when they grow big, they are expected to give back to the society. Philanthropy is businesses' desire to participate in social activities and is not mandated by law in many countries. So we can, again in 2016, Carroll took a relook at this pyramid and named it as Sustainable Stakeholders Framework. And when we see that from the very beginning, sustainability has been the part of CSR or the basic of CSR. Now we come to types of CSR. With time, the types or forms are also changing. Nowadays, businesses are implementing extensive CSR programs. Many companies have dedicated CSR divisions or CSR cells. With environmental and emission related commitments, such as India has committed to net zero emissions by 2070, and more environmental concerns among businesses as well as in society, the environmental responsibility is now the most common form of CSR. There are several ways a company implements its environmentally responsible initiatives, such as reducing pollution, increasing renewable energy usage, like using energy efficient technologies. Then is the ethical responsibility. Ethical responsibility is about treating the shareholders and stakeholders fairly. For instance, a firm may follow businesses only with fair trade organizations to avoid any child labor or misconduct with child. Then comes economic responsibility. It is the belief that businesses will protect and improve well-being of their shareholders, employees, workers, suppliers, and the society. And it focuses on creating jobs, improving living standards, and reducing poverty. Philanthropic responsibility is also charitable responsibility, and it is the organization's desire to improve the community and the world. And many companies donate to charities that align with their mission. And the charity may not align with their mission. It is completely based on the company's CSR vision or will. Now here at this point, again, I will read out the definition as in Harvard Business Review. So it says CSR is a business model in which for-profit companies seek ways to create social and environmental benefits while pursuing organizational goals like revenue growth and maximizing shareholder value. So if we see both the definitions in UNIDO's definition and what is mentioned in HBR, so it is basically a business management concept or business model, and it is followed by for-profit companies. And there are two concerns involved. One is social concern and another one is environmental concern. And one has to make the business sustainable in economic terms or day-to-day operations. And another one is taking care of shareholders and stakeholders. So with this, we understand the basic concept of CSR. Now it is about CSR in India. CSR in India is mandatory under Section 135 of Companies Act. Because of this act, the CSR has a clear mandatory points defined in India. However, there is ample scope to design one's own CSR policy and framework within the purview of this act. All companies with a specific net worth and net profit are supposed to engage in CSR initiatives. It is about 500 crore or net worth and net profit of 5 crore. The most relevant point of this act is about spending. It is 2% of the net profit. An organization has to spend in every financial year a minimum of 2% of the average net profit made during the 3 immediately preceding financial years as per the CSR policy. The net profit is calculated following the points in section 198 of the act. And once the CSR is implemented for the year, there may be some unspent amount. And this unspent amount is to be transferred to the special account, which is called as unspent CSR account. And this unspent amount can be only transferred to few of the funds which is specified in the act, such as National Relief Fund. or it can be used in succeeding 3 years for other CSR activities. Now, we spoke about unspent funds. There are cases of excess spending also. For example, um, the example is Coal India Limited. During a 4-year span till the closure of financial year 2023, Coal India Limited spent about rupees 2,000 crore under its CSR umbrella. This is much higher than what it was supposed to spend. That is, it was supposed to spend rupees 1,700 crore. The excess CSR spending can be set off against the required 2% CSR up to the immediately succeeding 3 financial years. After the excess spending, there comes surplus. Surplus refers to income generated from the spend on CSR activities. For example, revenue received from the CSR projects. Many times, like CSR projects may initiate some livelihood projects or may generate some revenues for operation and maintenance of the installed plants. Then sale of material used in CSR projects and other similar income sources which were generated through the CSR initiative. The surplus arising out of CSR activities are to be utilized only for CSR purpose. Now comes to CSR reporting. The CSR reporting initiates on 1st April of each year. And companies are supposed to place their CSR policies in their website. In case a company fails to comply with the provisions relating to CSR spending, transferring or utilizing the unspent amount, there is also provision of fine and penalty. So this is all. This is in brief about section 135, that is the CSR part. There is a CSR reporting format available in the portal of Ministry of Corporate Affairs. We can go through the format in the portal. So here I'm not going through this portal, as if you are interested, one can go through the format. Now here we come to impact assessment. As per, we will talk about the impact assessment as per the Act. There has been amendments from time to time. Recently, the CSR rules changed the expenditure in impact assessments. Earlier, it was 5% of its CSR expenditure or rupees 50 lakhs, whichever is lower. And now this limit has been changed to the higher of 2% or rupees 50 lakhs. And the other so impact assessment related rules are like impact assessment is mandatory for the companies with CSR obligation of INR 10 crores. Then impact assessment needs to be done before the completion of 1 year since the end of the project. For example, if a project starts on June 1st, then the assessment has to begin by the next before the next year's month of June. The assessment report, which is produced at the end of the process, is annexed to the company's annual CSR report. The impact assessments are undertaken by an independent agency. Generally, for the CSR assessment, that entire CSR assessment, the corporates have their own methods like of outsourcing it to consultancy firms, and many times for the single projects or shorter small projects, individual consultants are also, or third party evaluators are also engaged. Now, sustainability and CSR. Friends, we will talk about India context. Now, more and more companies are putting up their sustainability and responsibility reports. And why there is so much of push for sustainability and responsibility reporting? It is gaining importance with each passing day. It is basically a response to the growing stakeholders' expectations. For instance, more investors are looking for environmental and social responsibility and sustainability in businesses. We can see in this slide about the chronological developments that in 2012, business responsibility reporting was introduced. We call it BRR in short. It became mandatory for top 100 companies. In 2014, CSR became mandatory in India. In 2015, top 500 companies were listed for mandatory BRR. This list extended to 1,000 companies in the year 2019. In 2021, business responsibility and sustainability reporting was introduced. And now it is the most followed reporting standard. Practicing good CSR is regarded as the engine to social sustainability. It supports companies to fulfill their responsibilities as good corporate citizens. Now we will go through some case studies on. First, we will go through a case study of sustainability and CSR. Here we will go through the case study of Ambuja Cements. Ambuja Cements, they operate cement production units, and their CSR initiative or sustainability initiative is known to engage many divisions or theaters of CSR. Initially, the CSR in Ambuja Cements were managed by Ambuja Foundation. In 2008, it developed a comprehensive focus on environmental and social responsibility. And in 2010, it extended its CSR initiative to various dimensions. Now, we will just discuss few CSR initiatives or sustainability initiatives of Ambuja Cements. The production units of Ambuja Cements were using groundwater a lot. Then Ambuja Cements initiated water recharge projects in the nearby villages. This gathered support from local government. As a result, what happened? The adjoining farmlands or agricultural lands became more productive, and also the production process also became more sustainable. Ambuja Cements, their own production process became more sustainable. Then it introduced alternate fuel program, which is using biomass or agricultural waste for energy production. This increased their engagement with farmers. They started biofuels from the local farmers. So, biofuels in the sense like agricultural waste, corn stalks, husk. Then there was an instance where Ambuja's logistic managers, they identified that the trucking fleet has some operational risk. The trucks were owned by subcontractors, and there were cases of dangerous driving through villages when they transported the raw materials and the finished products. The managers realized that the accidents could create a bad relation with villages, as well as it can also halt their trucking operations. So through Ambuja Foundation, they launched a driving safety program, which was later expanded to health education. Here we can see that a logistic requirement or a supply chain requirement enhanced to and education program. Then Ambuja Cement committed to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 21% per ton of cementous material by 2030. And in addition, it also developed futuristic construction material. Here we see that how sustainability and CSR worked hand in hand and across all the divisions. Now we will go through some global examples. For example, Lego is a toy making company which procures environment friendly materials for packaging. It is something example of environmental responsibility. Philanthropy, Salesforce is a software organization, and it follows its a model of 1:1:1, where 1% of the product, 1% of the equity, and 1% of the employees' time is given to communities and to the not-for-profit sector. Now, there is one example of economic and social responsibility from Hindustan Unilever, which is very popular and also known as Project Shakti Initiative. Like Hindustan Unilever, in remote rural areas, instead of following their traditional model of wholesaler to retailer distribution, engaged women, rural women, and provided them with microfinance. They trained them in selling soaps, detergents, and other products through door-to-door marketing. And then they recruited about 60,000 women entrepreneurs. And this helped the women entrepreneurs to enhance their income. And also, at the same time, it increased the sale of soaps, detergents, and other hygiene products of the Hindustan Unilever. And if one can say about, like, it also increased the usage of hygiene products in remote locations. So it was a business model that helped the community and also helped the corporate to enhance their sale and income. Now there is another case study of social responsibility. This is a case of Google. One study in 2018, they compiled more than 250,000 independent employee reviews from companies around the United States. Then they announced that Google is the happiest place to work. Basically, Google, they introduced many employee benefit schemes like on-site wellness, good retirement plans, competitive compensation, hybrid or work models, and some wellness programs. So this way, like employee happiness, it definitely adds to productivity. This is mentioned in that study. Now goes to ethical responsibility. Starbucks is a company which claims to procure 99% of its coffee through ethical sources, that is through fair trades where there is no child labor involved. And there is one ethisphere which ranks companies globally following some ethical indicators. And Starbucks was able to find its way in almost all the rankings since 2007. Now, in previous slides, we saw about some global examples, but we may not need to look for global examples always. Like there are examples very near to us. Any organization, any business or company which are following some rules like using environmentally friendly products or raw materials, who are following business ethics, that is they are taking care of fair treatment of all the employees, taking care of economic well-being of employees and shareholders, who are following environmentally sustainable practices in their manufacturing process. They are engaging people with fair in a fair way, are all following good CSR practices. And there are some products or some organizations which where the business models are uh, built in such a way, the products are such that it actually adds to which actually creates the social responsibility. For example, milk cooperatives. The milk cooperatives, they procure milk from the villages in the nearby areas. In that way, they engage the nearby villages and help in enhancing the income of the nearby villages. Now, economic well-being leads to development of the area. There are handloom businesses where the businesses, they give orders in the handloom clusters. Handloom clusters are generally uh, clusters like group of villages where the uh, the people are mostly engaged in handloom work, and they get the order, and this way they get the opportunity to enhance or increase their income. So these type of businesses help the society. As such, their business model is built in a way to help the society. For example, once I was traveling and I found a honey bottling company in Odisha, in remote Odisha. The company used to collect honey from the tribal villages nearby and bottle them. In a way, it uh, helped in rural location to increase the income of the people. Now we will go through one example of CSR, where the CSR is implemented through other agency or partner agency. For example, there is one public sector organization which finances power generation projects. They installed solar power plants in about 50 rural health centers. There, in rural health centers, there is provision of diesel generator set, and the fund for diesel comes from the operation and maintenance funds of the rural health centers. Sometimes the fund may be inadequate, and in many remote locations, diesel may not be available all the time. And now, what are the benefits of this, like this CSR initiative? The corporation targeted its goal, which is electrification. Electrification goal was met. Here, the sustainability aspect, the renewable energy sources used, and the rural health center received electricity when required. It helped the society, and the diesel usage is reduced in the project, like through this project, which is like it is also adding to your net zero emission targets. And also in like in overall, it strengthens the rural health infrastructure. Here there is another example of an oil refinery. The oil refinery has employees and workers, like who are directly employed with the refinery or are subcontractual workers. They come from the nearby villages. So there are elephant passages in many parts of the routes from the villages to the refinery, and the elephant passages were very common in the villages as well. The refinery, under its CSR initiative, installed solar street lights in the villages and also in the elephant passages. Now, what are the benefits here? Like I spoke to the employees, like few employees. So this led to good safety of the employees and workers. And because there are night shifts also, So it added to the safety and well-being of the employees. Renewable energy is promoted. It is a sustainable way. And also the refinery developed a good reputation with the locals. It already had good reputation, but it strengthened its reputation. Now we can go through some reporting and guidelines. SEBI has mandated that the BRSR, that is Business Responsibility and Sustainability Reporting, is applicable to the top 1000 listed companies, and it is mandatory from the year 2022-23. So this requirements of this reporting are based on the national guidelines for responsible business conduct. So this reporting has 9 principles. So which is ethics, transparency and accountability, safe and contributes to sustainability, well-being of all employees, responsive towards all stakeholders, respect and promote human rights, concern about environment, public and regulatory policy, equitable development, and provide value to the customers. So one can also download the format from the website. I have mentioned the website here. So since business responsibility and sustainability reporting, they followed national guidelines on responsible business conduct. So we will just briefly go through this guidelines. This again, the guidelines has 9 principles, and it is about disclosure questions and principle wise disclosure questions. There are indicators for all the 9 principles, and there is a separate guidelines for uh, micro, small, and medium enterprises. The guideline links to the Sustainable Development Goals. This guideline is available in Ministry of Corporate Affairs portal, and one can download the guidelines. Now about Sustainable Development Goals. Sustainable Development Goals are adopted by all United Nations member states and it was adopted in 2015. India agreed to SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. There are 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and which are said as to be an urgent call for action by all countries, whether it is developing or developed, in a global partnership. Now, there are 17 goals, and each goal has targets. In total, for 17 goals, there are 169 targets, and each target has indicators to measure the progress of the goals. So, it's like if we discuss about the sustainable development goals, it will be a huge concept to discuss. But SDGs are about, in a nutshell, SDGs are about ending poverty and other deprivations must go hand in hand with strategies that improve health, education, reduce inequality, and spur economic growth, all while tackling climate change and working to preserve our oceans and forests. It is the SDGs are about reducing poverty, enhancing economic growth, environment, and social equitable growth, and access to the basic resources to all. Here, there are some basic pillars of business and sustainability reporting, but the list is basic. One can populate the list more, but there are Um, Basically, this list covers environmental pillar, social pillar, and governance pillar. Now, about reporting. There are many reporting formats, and initially, also when long back I was going through the reporting formats, they are very means if one will look at all the reporting formats, it's a bit confusing. But if we look at all the reporting formats, it's basically about the principles or standards, and it is about disclosure of performance following the principles and standards. Among all, the Global Reporting Initiative guidelines are most common framework used in the world for reporting. So the GRI guidelines are generally accepted as a common tool for measurement and communication. So when we can have a look at global reporting format through the website, but we will not go into details of the reporting format. Now, winding up. CSR, we went through the case studies, we tried to understand the basic concept, we went through case studies, we went through some basic reporting formats as well as the guidelines. And now how CSR policies or frameworks are developed by organizations. There are no thumb rule. For example, like one public sector organization, they conducted a baseline survey for about 400 villages to develop their long-term CSR plan. So they had a very good extensive baseline survey. Based on the baseline, they developed a plan for infrastructure and as well as other educational development plans for education and skills. And many times the CSR initiatives are taken up as they come, like sometimes the need of the state or need of the place. For example, in special economic zone, there might be a need for one type of development work. Then the organization may move beyond their CSR framework to go for that particular type of development work. And from time to time, there are assessments of CSR projects, and the assessment results help in initiating new um, ideas or new activities in the CSR framework. Many times, the CSR has to align, CSR aligns with the national agenda. For example, during Swachh Bharat mission, many of the corporates, they uh, invested in building sanitation infrastructure, and most of the time the CSR initiatives align with the company's work. For example, hygiene hand wash promoting company, they conducted awareness programs in schools for hygiene practices. Now, about assessment framework, there is no set rule for assessment. However, there are a general flow of methods. Generally, the first point is defining the list of indicators. The indicators are based on the overall CSR policy, the company's policies, and as well as the project objective goal. One develops a study design after defining the indicators. Like design may include information source, sample size, information collection tools, information collection methods, analysis method, and so on. Then, based on the indicators and information source, questions are designed and responses are collated. For example, long back I did assessment of wind diesel hybrid power plant. The source of information were the office files, interview with the officials, engineers, then operating staff, and then the users. One has to decide for qualitative or quantitative methods. Sometimes one may develop a hypothesis and follow a statistical tool to, uh, for the assessment, and sometimes a qualitative narration is good enough. So there is no right or wrong methods. It's only the method has to be a valid one. And then comes the interpretation part. The since the assessments are by the third party, the it is expected that interpretations are going to be unbiased. The work may be good, and sometimes it may, uh, or sometimes there may be scope of improvement. So there are three types of assessments: social assessment, environmental assessment, and life cycle assessment. Generally, social and environmental assessments uh, simpler than, but life cycle assessments, they are much broader and vast. Now, the impact of CSR on consumer buying decisions. I collated these points from the literature. However, literature says that it helps in consumers prefer to buy eco-friendly products or may avoid irresponsible businesses. They might amplify CSR messages, or it might enhances customer loyalty. However, when I myself think about, then we look for the quality of product and the value for money. Many times we might go for fair trade products and eco-friendly products when we know the organization, or when we sometimes we are buying. So along with being fair, ethical, environment friendly, the bottom line goes back to the economic sustainability of the business, economic sustainability of the buyer. Now, the role of social auditors. The CSR Act uh, 2013 mandated companies to undertake the programs. Social audit is important. The audit helps in tracking progress by the third party, which is generally unbiased. Reporting is mandatory. Every corporate has its own way of reporting. There are two types of audits here. Like one can have the audit of entire CSR activities, or can have the audit of one individual project or group of projects. Entire CSR audits are much broader, are and are generally outsourced to consultancy firms. Audit helps in monitoring the impacts and the direction of the project. For example, like with time, the relevance of any activity may reduce. So this is the usage of the assessment report that the CSR companies have to uh, relook at their own activities, like CSR activities. And there is a need for revisions in the initiative list. The social audit helps in reflecting on the CSR policies and defining new initiatives. There is no set rule for social audits. This gives ample scope for innovation in developing methods and tools. And thus, there is always scope for innovation and add new ways or methods. The social audits, which are part of annual reports, helps in building brand image. The auditor's assessment report has many influences, such as it makes the CSR projects transparent and easily manageable. It instills trust in stakeholders and makes them accountable. It drives emphasis on minimizing negative outcomes, and it results in either reduction or best utilization of costs. Now, what are the benefits to the corporate? CSR is not only giving by the corporates or businesses, it also pays back. It gives new business opportunities. It helps in designing new business models. The brand image improves. The workforce is happy. The operational cost is reduced if we introduced efficient technologies or more relevant technologies. And many times it aids to risk management as well, as we saw the um, example of traffic safety program. Now, what are the takeaway points? When we say CSR, what comes in mind is philanthropy. So it is much beyond philanthropy. CSR and sustainability are closely linked, and it is linked from the very beginning, and the gap between the two is shrinking day by day. Now, the reportings, business responsibility and sustainability reportings are same. Uh, the role of social auditing becomes important, and more uh, like with more and more businesses coming up with sustainability concerns and reporting. So in a way, the role of social auditors is going to become is becoming more and more important, with more and more social and environment and sustainability concerns due to the change in the social behavior and how we are looking at social and environmental aspects, as well as our uh, concerns for environment. So now we can have a discussion. Hello.
Couple of slides back, you had mentioned about life cycle thing, right? What was that?
Yes. Yes, it's life cycle assessment.
What is that like? How does you said it's a time-taking thing?
It's about like how the product like assessments are from the very beginning, like how from where the product is initiating and to the end please.
Okay, but
So
product life cycle. Okay.
yeah. So it is like a lengthy process of assessment.
Madam, this impact assessment, when it will be, who is that person audit giving the assignment and to this report is presented?
Actually, I'm not able to understand the question.
Okay, see this CSR impact assessment,
Yes.
when it will be, the assignment will be given to the third party and to whom this report will be submitted.
Generally, what happens, the assessments, CSR, the companies, they conduct their own assessments. For one thing is like they implement projects, and for each project, there is a third party evaluator. And also for the overall assessment, like all the projects assessment, including the CSR initiatives within the company, there are there are third parties to evaluate those assessments, and generally the assessment results are submitted to the uh, companies, and then they upload it in the MCA portal as well as like in their annual reports.
Thank you. Is there any published third party assessors list?
There is no such list, but there are many organizations which conduct social assessments, and there are also individual consultants. So generally now, because of social stock exchange, there are registered social auditors. Otherwise, it is through network or word of mouth.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Hello. Hope it was lucid and not boring, the presentation.
No, it was very informative. Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Uh, are there any questions, or we can have discussions on any other aspect? Means within the purview of this topic.
Now, what will be the future for this type of reporting in next 5 years?
Future is good because it is becoming more and more mandatory. It's becoming mandatory for more and more companies. Now it's like 1,000 companies, and the new format, if you will see, it is much simpler also. Like business business and sustainability reporting format. It's simpler also.
Is it only a compliance or it is ethically we are doing this?
Compliance. Actually, there are corporates which are doing also. Like I myself has was involved with few. So there are companies like particularly the public sector companies. They are doing it well. There are other big corporates are also there who are doing good work. But definitely there is variation always.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. And earlier, like when there was no reporting format, then it was much difficult, like which one to select, and but now it is much simpler.
Is it standardized now?
We can say that it is for India. It is standardized.
Okay, this BSR, the same
Huh.
format will be useful for compiling all the information.
Yes, yes, yes. There are 9 principles.
Okay.
Madam, can you share? I am Subroto Ghosh here. Can you share any of the format to us, blank format or fill up format in the old, so that we can understand what to fill up if it is required?
Okay, I could share you with you the format.
Yeah.
But filter format will be a bit difficult as it might
No, I
contain.
don't want to know the name of the company. Company name,
Oh.
you mean
No,
delete.
it is a
Just
published
whatever you are
information only,
doing.
no?
So
It's
it
a-
is a understanding of it.
Madam, this report is published information. It's available in the public domain, no?
Uh, Generally, it is available with the.
It is a part of annual reports.
It is part of annual report, but everything might not be part of annual report. It depends on the company as well.
No.
Like there are like disclosures, definitely disclosures, but I am not sure like how much of it is disclosed.
No, the stakeholder, everybody public, general public is the stakeholder.
Yes.
So that communication, it has to be for public.
Yes, yes, yes. So for this, we can like look at the company websites, like generally they publish, but many times it might not be the entire report.
Yes, madam. That's why I am asking. A sample copy may be given to us
Okay. Okay. I'll look
so that
for
we
it.
can follow that same.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. I will definitely look for it and share with you.
You can share to our ICMI SAO, so they will
Okay.
share to us. That is also alternatively can be done. and
Okay,
request
yeah,
them to share to me. At least my name is Subroto Ghosh, and
yeah.
whoever
Okay,
wants to get, or every participant should get that copy. That will be better.
okay, sure, sure.
That will be better.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Thank you.
yes, thank you. And are there any other some suggestions or questions or anything to share? Like it is not that there are questions, but we can have some suggestions or any, we can share our own experiences as well. Like we have some time left.
Right now, how many, all of the companies are doing the CSR activities. But when that CSR audit report means social auditor or any other person, independent person will be compulsory or audit this type of thing. Is there any scope for that? So that work opportunity may go up.
See, like for now, like the third party evaluation is there by the corporates.
True. Any criteria that somebody should be such qualified or any independent auditor can do that. So that is a need of professional. What is the need of professional like us to do in that field?
See,
Is there
generally
any-
what happens that the work goes to consulting firms which who actually bid or who present their expression of interest. And also there are individual evaluators who are professionally qualified in that particular domain. Like for example, I myself has done few energy related assessments, means assessment of few energy related projects or environment related projects.
Now, what is the basic, qualification or criteria required for that? That is my intention to know. And what is our
I
role there?
generally they're approached through organizations or like if one knows that the person is qualified enough like to take up the assessment. So there is no, what we see that there is no set rule for assessment and there is no set criteria. Like generally it is like a basic qualification is there, some like particularly that person has some subject knowledge or qualification in that particular domain and also has some experience, then only one goes for the assessment.
Okay, industry, all industries are different, but more or
Yes.
less CSR project are within 17 parameters set by
Yeah.
even.
As per
That is
schedule
there.
said.
So 17 parameter may not be available experience for each and every
Yes.
person. It is not possible.
Yeah.
An agency also may be having a 2-3 professional, not like this, but they are taking other field also. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm saying any stipulation is no there, no, not there. Any criteria.
No. Any criteria is not there. But in case of registered social auditors, one has to pass the some basic.
No, that is recently. From
That is
February
very.
and onwards, you are getting
Uh-huh.
there is 100 or 200 people are there.
Yeah.
So they can employ or they can utilize their professional,
Yes.
at least understanding, and this field may not be there practically so much knowledge. So need the format and other thing. And
Yes.
that we need basically what we need,
Yes.
where is the opportunities is there, at the same time how we can serve. It may be professionally fees paid or not, that is not the immaterial. I'm talking about the objective of social audit and other things.
Yes.
Madam, generally that impact assessment, how long it takes from getting the assignment and to give the report to them?
It depends on the project. Like if the project is big enough and my sample size is big, then I will take more time. And if the sample size is small, then generally it uh, takes about a month because A person will do some preparatory work, then design the assessment work, design the assessment study. Then we'll have to collate information, and the sample size has to be reasonable enough to validate the results. Then one will do the analysis, report writing. So one can take a month's time.
Thank you.
Because it's not one thing, and many times one can do assessment of 2 to 3 projects of maybe of different kind or of a one kind. So it depends on the sample size and how intricate is your analysis methods, and also the number of people working in
Okay.
that report.
Now, if one hypothetical question, if the same assignment is done by different persons, will the result will be the same or it will be different?
Might be different also, because it also depends on how one perceives the thing, but quantitatively it will be same, and also it depends on the methodology.
Okay. No, it is.
If my sometimes what happens, the selection of sample may differ, and one sample selection may be wrong also, like the selection might be skewed to where the impact is more, and sometimes if it is even, the sample is evenly spread, then it might give some different result. And if my sample is skewed to the area where impact is more, then it will give a different result. So there are variations and there might be differences in results.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Hello.
Yes, madam. Give us a
Yes.
suggestion what to do if a sample size is more or small. What importance is the first priority as per your, obviously that objective is the first, definitely that will carry. But how do you do in your practical field?
Sample size selection.
Sample size collection for the particular to establishment the objective of the CSR project.
See, one thing is we follow one method, like how to select sample. There are methods, like one can go for stratified selection of sample selection, one can go for random, or one can very carefully select, like in case of qualitative assessments, one can very carefully select their respondents. And at the same time, the number of sample is also important. For example, if the impact is expected in 10 villages, and I go only to one village and interview one, that won't validate my results. So somehow one has to go to at least means at least cover 30% of the sample size. And also there is sample, like calculation methods are there, so one can follow that method as well. There is a formula for sample calculation. Generally, in case of social audits, one can stick to 30% also, like minimum of 30%. And in terms of qualitative assessments, then we can define our respondents based on the study design.
Madam, 30% is a big amount. If it is a big project,
Yes.
30%
Big
of the sample
project.
collection means you need a good team who can
Yes.
go and collect this
Mhm.
thing. It is also
Mhm.
expensive. I don't
Yes.
know who will bear the cost for collecting all these things. Fees will not
Generally,
cover all this thing.
generally, I don't know about how the this works with the registered social auditors. Otherwise, the uh, field cost, field expenditure is mentioned in the budget, like, and it's beared by the corporate. While going through the presentation, we were seeing like there is a set amount for impact assessment, like which is 2% or 50 lakhs. So it comes from that amount.
What are the other challenging areas other than sampling?
What I'm saying, audit
Yeah.
expense is also included in the CSR spending
Yes.
within the 2% of the 2%.
Yes, 2%. Yes.
Yes, madam.
Yeah.
What is the other areas of challenging other than sampling?
Other than sampling, it's basically for me, if I say, it's about like for qualitative information, who are going to be the respondents. Generally, we go to village leaders, and many a times, or the key persons, and many a times we are not able to identify like respondents from all the all the status. So one is that, and also uh, it becomes a bit tricky when we see the impact and one has to go for uh, some changes in the initiative. So one has to work who the assessments, like what can be the alternate or improvements or changes in the initiative, so that the impact is uh, more. So that is one. Till now, for me, budget has not been
Constraint.
the challenge.
Okay, when you are presenting that report to the stakeholder, how they
Yes.
receive it? Or they agree with your impact assessment, or they have different opinion?
Generally, they agree, and many times they also come with their suggestions, because many times the CSR team, they also have many uh, likes assessments and information about the location as well as understand. So generally, it is well received.
Okay, it is adding value to them.
Yes, yes, it adds value to them, because assessments only gives the direction. Like many things, that whether the community is happy with the project, or how they they think about taking it forward, how the community thinks to take the project forward by themselves. These things comes out from the assessment only. And also, like if there are some other internal like other assessments, means entire CSR assessment, then also, like if the organization is happy and what are the changes required and what are the other sustainability assessments, those things are very valuable to any organization.
Yes, it is some sort of certification for their work.
Generally, till now, like this and social exchange in NSA, it is very recent only. But earlier, like social, though these auditings were through consulting firms, KPMG, PwC is there, and other consulting firms are there, and also independent evaluators are also there for the individual projects or group of projects. Till
Thank you,
now,
madam.
there is no set qualification, but definitely professional understanding is required.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Kindly share
Yes.
that sheet along with your
Yes,
sample
yes.
and importance given to how you are doing in practically. That will help us, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
yes,
you very
sure,
much.
sure. Thank
And
you.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you a lot. Nice meeting you all. Bye.
Yeah, same here.